Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mindfulness Monday. Y'all stay tuned in because today's message is one you don't need to miss. If you've missed any other Monday, go to my website. That's www.houseoftru.tv. You click on the tab that says Mindfulness Monday. So if you scroll down and click Mindfulness Monday, it'll take you to a whole page that's full of Mindfulness Monday messages. It'll also show you previews or actually full episodes of our Mindfulness Monday True Community Group check-in, because y'all need to kind of tap in. A lot of us are tuned out. And I say tuned out of just the reality of what's really happening in your life, but tuned out from just moving forward in the direction that's truly meant for you. So again, stay tuned in and welcome to Mindfulness Monday. I haven't checked in with myself, and the question was asked of me last night because I just got in town from traveling. How you feeling? How are you? And I looked at him and I truthfully said, I don't know. I'm feeling a whole lot of different things. And it's hard to just categorize it into one word or one experience. So y'all are getting the true check-in right now. I'm going to write down a few things here in a minute, but the topic for today is we need to be mindful of, scratch that. The topic is create the life you don't have to vacation from. As I mentioned, I just got back in town last night from a 4-day vacation. But I'd like to say that for the last 7 years, so let's say 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 7 years, and I say 7 years because that's when I first quit my corporate job as a social worker, where I was working as a clinical, no, I wasn't clinical yet. I was working as a investigator for child abuse and neglect for the state of Texas. I went into homes. I evaluated homes' conditions to see if they were deemed safe for children to stay there. I interviewed parents to see if the child was safe at home with their parents. So cases came in with allegations that were submitted by either the school, parents, friends, people in the neighborhood, law enforcement, hospitals. And I had to go out and investigate whatever the report was. Anything that was on that report, whether it was an accusation of molestation, an accusation of drugs, an accusation of any type of abuse, whatever that report said, I had to go out, check the environment out, and I was responsible for deciding whether or not that child was safe. I ain't doing that. I did it for, how many years did I do that? I did it for a few years. Ultimately, my mental health was way more important than that paycheck. Because I'm the type of person, when it comes to work sometimes, first of all, I don't like nobody telling me what to do. I'm my own boss. I'm my own boss lady. I know when I need to be somewhere. I know what time. That's all I need to know. And I don't need to be micromanaged. I don't need to be watched over. I don't need to be checked in on. Once I know what I'm supposed to be doing, you can go and mind your business. So that type of job, or I'll just say that path, it ultimately doesn't work for my spirit. I need to be on my own and at my own pace. But ultimately, my mental health was more important than me getting that paycheck because I couldn't sleep. I'm at home wondering, was that child really safe? Did they tell me that because the parents were in the next room? Is this acceptable? But the bigger picture was, I don't really know. I'm gauging these experiences in households based on what my growing up has looked like. So if anybody is in a position or field, no matter how credentialed we are, no matter how skilled you are, no matter how much training you have, everybody has a set of biases based on however you were raised. One case in particular, the allegations also included that the house was very neglectful. The children shouldn't live there. As long as they had running water, as long as they had lights, basic necessities, they didn't have to have everything, you know? So one case I was working on with I can't remember everybody's position, but I was working on a case with somebody from a different department. And we're staffing the case, meaning we're sitting in the boardroom with everybody's supervisors, my supervisors. We're talking about the conditions of the home. We're talking about what the kids said. We're talking about what the parents talked about, everything. And again, me going out to this home, yeah, I wouldn't live there. Yeah, I ain't gonna lay my head up in here. But those kids were walking around, running around, laughing, joking, playing, jumping on the mattress that was on the floor, zooming through the room, sitting down on the trash piles, sitting down in the corners, and not necessarily trash as in like stuff that's supposed to be like food or, you know, things that's just sitting out. But when I say trash, I mean stuff that I wouldn't have in a corner of my house, but this is their norm, unfortunately. Does that make that situation neglectful? Does that mean that the kids are being abused? And does that mean that they need to be removed? Maybe not. Does that mean that there is something deeper going on and she probably needs some type of assistance or some help? Maybe so. So again, we're staffing this case, and I had to go out there. I had to sit in here and interview each of these kids in their environment. I had to also go to the schools and talk to these people. I don't think they need to be removed. Again, I do think she needs some type of assistance. She had running water. She had all of her basic necessities. But the person that I was staffing the case with, she talked about how the house was infested with roaches, how they didn't have bottles of water, or they didn't have anything to drink. They didn't have any water. So each thing that she's saying deemed this house to be inappropriate and saying that the kids needed to be removed based on the way that I've grown up, again, and based on me observing the situation based on how happy the kids appear to be, I had a different perspective. I said, they don't have water. She said they didn't have any bottles of water. They didn't have anything to drink. I said her faucet ran. Her water was on. That's all that we had to be concerned with. So they had tap water. It may not have been bottled water, but they had tap water, right? Another situation, she said, again, the house was infested with roaches. I said, what does that mean when you say infested? She said it was roaches everywhere, climbing up and down the wall. I said, when you say infested, do you mean you saw one or two? Or did you see piles of, and you know, roaches everywhere? She said it may have been one or two roaches. That's not an infestation. So it's different things like that based on your perspectives that can deem the situation appropriate. And again, my mental health was made way more important because I'm at home wondering, because I truly can't say that my voice of reasoning is the best one to say whether or not these kids are safe. I got out of there. I left that job and I started my own brand, which is now the House of Truth. I started Millhouse Morale LLC, which is basically, you know, what is morale? Morale is not really right or wrong. Morale is the experience that's created based on, again, what should be. So if you are going to a restaurant, how would you like your experience to be? Would you like to be catered to? Would you like to be served? That's morale, the integrity of a business, the integrity of wherever you are or whatever the situation is. And the morale can be either high or low. It can be good or bad based on your personal experiences. So my brand basically would go into different establishments, and whatever their standard was, we made sure that they maintained it, but also added an extra layer to make sure that the people that were experiencing your business or brand got what they needed out of it. Now, why am I talking about that, and why did I share my experience as a social worker? Because I get it. I went to school to become a clinical social worker. Originally, I was going to school to become a lawyer. I wanted to do family law. I didn't want to do that no more. There was a different path that was chosen for me, so I ultimately became a social worker. Again, my school didn't have public policy. It didn't have social policy. The next thing to it was social work. I did that. I experienced the field. I've been a therapist, or I am a therapist. I've worked with families. Another position as a child abuse and neglect investigator with the state of Texas. I was a family liaison. And what that meant, this is a different role. If a report came in, whoever was the main parent or guardian in this position or in this family, I spoke with them about the allegations, and they were allowed to bring in whoever they wanted to in their family, and we had a meeting. We would have a meeting. We would sit down. We would get to the bottom of what was talked about. We would let everybody speak. I facilitated family sessions. And at the end of that meeting, we didn't go to court to determine how much time would be had between this parent and this parent. We didn't go to the court to hash out the differences that the family had. Whatever that family's issues were, stayed in that family. And I was the person that wrote up whatever the outcome of this meeting would look like. And that document was official. I'm saying that because a lot of times in our family dynamics and in our households, we take things to the government. We take things to the courthouse. Bring them to me. Bring them to me. That's one of the services that's offered at the House of True. But the picture is way bigger than that. It's way bigger than that. So I'm able to provide my social work experience now through my life coaching services under my brand. But the point of it, again, because welcome to Mindfulness Monday, is you got to create a life that you don't have to vacation from. Now, I was unable to fulfill, the duties as this child abuse and neglect investigator at their terms because I couldn't do that all day. I needed that to end. If I had 30 cases and I closed out 15 or I closed out 20, I'm excited because I'm feeling like, yes, I'm almost done. I only got a few more to close out. I'll be done with this set. That's not the way the system worked. After I closed out my 15, after I was excited about my 20th submission, guess what happened? I got 20 more. And then guess what happened when I closed those 20? I was getting 20 more. So to me, it just felt like a loop. It felt like a cycle in a system of something that would never end. And the way that my mind works, the way that my personality works, I need to see a goal. I need to know that once I reach this is done. And now I can do this next thing. In that type of position where I'm constantly just doing the same thing all day, every day without no end, that don't work well for me. So I removed myself. And since 2019, I've been creating a life that I don't have to vacation from. I don't like the Monday through Friday. I got to wait until Friday and I got to wait until my weekend before I get to do anything. No, every day is a weekend over here. I create my schedule. I set appointments. I set the times that work best for how I'd like to have my life being operated. And I'm moving from there. Now, I do go back and forth into corporate America because I went back to school in 2022 and I got my clinical license as a medical social worker. I'm credentialed. I have the education, but the education isn't why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. The education is so that I can ultimately, when I get my in-person facility, we'll provide some services to you all. And I don't have to call anybody else in-house to do those things. I can do them, or I can contract people in. So I have the education. However, the cycle of being involved in different careers, it doesn't work well for my personality year round. So right now, I'm offering services, but at my own pace. Because I refuse to live my life on somebody else's time all my life. Now, I get those that are having to or feel like you need to, and you're satisfied with where you are. And that is your business. There's no judgment here because I get it. I've been there and I've done that. I've also experienced what it feels like to go at my own pace. And I can't unexperience, I can't unsee, I can't unfeel how much freedom I have in my days and in my time. If I choose to say, hey, I'm going out of town or I'm going out the country for a week or a month or a year, I can do that because the type of things that I do, I can offer from anywhere. And I know how to set up systems no matter where I go. Now, it's not an easy jump to go from career and consistent paycheck to trying to figure it out. However, no matter how much money I'm making, I've had 2 jobs as a therapist, as a family therapist and as an addictions counselor. At the same time, I had 2 jobs as a therapist, working 7 days a week after I got my master's. And no matter how many hours I worked, no matter how many clients I saw, no matter how many people I've helped, the amount of money never added up. It never added up to the way that I felt. It never added up to the life that I really want to live. It never added up. So I'd rather take the sacrifice of a certain amount of income to have my time right now, because it ain't promised. A lot of us are living our entire lives to not even be able to experience everything that we've been doing our entire lives. What type of life are you living right now? Are you having to wait 2-3 months before you take a pause to go out and enjoy the money that you've been working all of these years for? How are you living right now? And again, however you're living is your business. But I just want to offer a perspective. If you were to lose that job, or if something were to unfortunately happen tragically in your life, you don't even get to see the fruits of any of that labor. If you left that job today, you know they're going to hire somebody else probably tomorrow. And furthermore, again, if some unforeseen accident or unexpected death happened, do you know that they just going to pack up your belongings and put it in a box to give to your loved ones? And then hire somebody else to fill that position? It's sad. And it pisses me off. But that part of the system is nothing that I can control or do about. So I've chosen to do the other thing. And that is maximize my time and create the life that I don't have to vacation from. Because I'm going to figure it out. But I'm free. I'm going to figure it out. And there have been moments when I've had $0 or negative funds. I ain't going to lie to you. I've had moments in my life where my accounts were all negative to the point where they're closing. There have been moments in my life where, with these accounts closing and with my car getting repossessed and with me being kicked out of my apartment, I'm literally like, damn, I don't know what I'm about to do. But I had my time and I figured it out. And that was stressful. And that was a low season. And that was a season that taught me so much about myself. That was a season that showed me how persistent I can be. That was a season that showed me no matter what life is throwing my way, I'm going to be all right. That is a season that showed me that no matter what position I'm in these careers and these jobs, it will never be a perfect time to do anything. It's never a perfect time. So whatever you may be feeling, sometimes you got to just jump or allow yourself to fall. Because even when it comes to coming back home to Birmingham, this is not a space that I chose to come back to. If it was up to me, I always said, I ain't going back home. But sometimes life shows you situations, and sometimes life speaks to you in a way where it pulls you where you need to go. And during this season of my low season, what I'll call it, or quiet season, slow season, teaching season, I was reminded of my power. I was reminded of the power of stillness, the power of intentions, the power of now. And I was learning how to be present. And I had to use everything that I had within me, which was mainly my breath and sitting still, and the power of positive thought to manifest the life where I don't have to vacation from it. Because every time coming back home from a trip, it always feels like back to life. Well, back to my reality. Back to the grind, back to the hustle. But then I was reminded, why are we living up in this box while we're alive? When that's where some of us choose to go when we leave here. So why am I having a boxed in life when the world is literally like the sky is the limit? I don't have to just stay right here. I don't have to just do this one thing for the rest of my life. I can go out here and try a new activity today if I wanted to, if I had the courage to. I can go out here tomorrow and start a new business if I had the courage to do the thing. And we always say, I need the money, or when I get this, or when I get that. But what if you don't ever even get that? Because it ain't promised. It ain't promised. So stop living your whole life chasing this thing and chasing this freedom and hoping that this job will be your way out. When again, once you get there, you're probably going to be too tired to even live your life out loud. You just going to want to kick your feet up then. So that means, so you mean to tell me you worked 40 years? You mean to tell me you worked all your life to still struggle? And I just hope that people who are in these positions, because again, I understand both sides. And I do know, as I look back in hindsight, there was a way that I could have done that. I could have stayed in corporate America. I could have stacked up my 401k. I could have stacked up and did those 10 years to make sure that it paid off my student loans. But guess what? Those getting handled and taken care of anyway. Because there's always a way that's figured out when you just trust in the divine. Right? When you trust the process. When you trust that you're covered. When you know that you're protected. When you know that you are guided. So I battle with that sometimes. Like, had I used that money that I was making to fund these things over here, yeah, it probably would have been a way smoother transition. That could have been a way. So yeah, if you are in a corporate job, I encourage you to use what you're making, not just to live, because that's some bullshit. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you're working every day and you're getting checks every week, or you're getting checks every 2 weeks, and everything that you're making, you're having to put back into your light, your car, your house, bills, only to go back to work the next day to do the same thing over and over and over again just to fund the life that you're sitting in, it got to be way more to it than that. If you're building legacy, if you're building things for your kids, if you're building things to make it easier for everybody around you, yes. But if you're just in the cycle and in the loop of doing it just to live or just to survive, oh my God, what are we doing? I refuse to believe, and it's not even in my belief system anymore. I know we weren't put here or brought forth here to just work. So if you're gonna work, at least let it be something that you're passionate about. But how many of us are getting up, dragging our feet when that alarm clock go off because you hate your job? You hate going to this place that you at all day. And when you get off, you too tired to do anything else for yourself. So all you're doing is working, bathing or showering if you're doing that. Cooking, probably a meal that you eat once a week that you don't really want to eat anymore. And you're yearning these other things. You're yearning these other meals, but you're too tired to even take the time to figure out how you're going to do it. If you have a family, you're spending a little bit of time tending to them, or irritated because you just got off, but you still have to tend to their needs. And then you in the bed, because guess what? You can't stay up all night because you need to be rested so you can get back up and get back to the grind in the morning. I refuse to believe that that's what I was put here for. I got way more up in here, way more of me in here to just be put in this little bitty box of doing that same thing in that routine every single day. That will drive me. It has driven me, which is why I decided, no, not me. We have these for a reason, which means you can create the world that you'd like to live, and the power is in your hands. So again, the brand is House of True. I also have Waste You by True, in which I create all handcrafted body accessories and healing crystals, waist beads by my hands. The website I designed by my hands. I ain't never designed no websites before I decided to design my own, but I'm gonna figure it out. Life coaching services, in which I studied the material by my hands, and then I pushed forth with the vision. Yoga with True. Studied the material, learned the material, wrote out the material, and created the class and the design by my hands. So whatever is downloaded inside of you, whatever you constantly think about, whether it's starting a brand, starting a business, going to a place, doing this thing, the power is in your hands. And you need to do it. You deserve to have a full life. You deserve to be free in thoughts, free in your body. You deserve to feel good in your body. So if you're in a body that every day you're waking up not feeling good in it, and you're critiquing yourself, and you're feeling like, why is my leg like this? Or why is my stomach feeling like this? Or I don't like the way I look this way. I don't like the way my skin is doing this. The power is in your hands. It might be time, if that's how you're constantly feeling, to try a new way of eating. Just because you grew up eating chicken wings and grew up eating steak and grew up eating oxtails or grew up eating liver and rice, that's a meal I ain't touched since I was a kid. We had liver, rice, peas, and carrots at least probably once a week. I couldn't stand that meal. I was grateful for it because I didn't know nothing else as a kid. I didn't like it. But now that I'm an adult, you think that's something that I'm buying to cook? Because the power is in my hands. So sometimes our bodies are shutting down, or they're reacting to a life that has been created for you and put onto you by somebody else. But it may not be who you need to be anymore. Just because you've always done this thing, again, just because you've always eaten this way, have you ever asked yourself, is this me now, liking how I'm doing this thing now? Or are you just going along with the ride and just letting whoever you are be who you've always been because that's all that you know? It's scary to me sometimes as I reflect, as I look back through situations, or I look back through some of my books. I look back through some of my pictures because that's where your stories are. And I'm like, yeah, she look good. I like that version of me. But she ain't here no more. I'm constantly evolving because I'm constantly allowing myself to experience and try new things. And then I'm deciding from there. I did my first juice detox in 2019. 7 days, nothing but juice, all green juice. I blogged it and I shared that journey. That was a scary journey. I've never gone 7 days without eating food. But I was able to do it. That's one. It was nasty. I still did it. I felt good afterwards. I saw results. But the main thing was I challenged myself. I challenged myself against the odds, against everybody telling me, don't do that. You can't do that. You don't need to do that. I did it. And since doing that, it's become something that my body craves naturally at least once a year. After the 7 days, I'll say between 2019 and now, I've done 21 days. I've done 3 days all water, but that was hard. 3 days only water, and the rest of the 29, 28, depending on the month, days just juice. I've done different challenges because I like to challenge myself, to push myself just a little bit more. Push it a little bit more, but it's also discipline. And it started off as something that was a challenge, but it became something that was more spiritual. Fasting. And it's not just fasting from specific things, but it's my body rewiring itself into something different. Because just because I've always eaten these things does not mean that my body is accepting them now. So sometimes you need to reevaluate your now and ask yourself, are you honoring the person who you've become or who you're needing to become? Because a lot of us aren't. And that's why you're waking up unhappy. And I ain't gonna lie, even though I am creating the life that I don't have the vacation from, sometimes I still wake up like I ain't feeling this today. But that's a programming that I'm having to constantly work against, in which I've taught myself, or still teaching myself actively. Do the things that you don't want to do, even when you don't feel like doing them, because you know you need to. And to simplify that, do it anyway. If you know that you said you wanted to work out and you keep telling yourself, I'm gonna start tomorrow, get on up now. The next time your thought tells you I ain't feeling like doing it, I'm not doing it, get your butt on up right then and you start right then. You got to interrupt your system somehow, some way, and at some time. And if we keep putting off everything that we want to do until tomorrow, guess what? We're going to keep doing it. And today is the tomorrow that you asked for yesterday. If you truly living in the now. Because each now is just that. This is the moment that exists. This is all there is. Think about it. I can't ever go back and grab yesterday. So why live there? And yes, there's some situations that I'm having to be mindful of to try not to keep my mind there, because it will stay stuck in time. But bringing your mind where your body is. Be where you are now. And then when tomorrow is the thing that we're reaching for, tomorrow I'll do it. Tomorrow I'll get to it. Tomorrow I'll do that thing. Just remember and keep in mind, today is the tomorrow that you asked for yesterday. So how are you creating the life that you don't have to vacation from today? I'm going to just say one thing about it, because I want you to share one way that you're creating the life that you don't have to vacation from. As I mentioned, I just got back from vacation last night. However, I ain't touched back down home until today. After coming back from on vacation or being out of town, you need another break. I'm tired. So I took a little nap. But instead of me canceling out my Mindfulness Monday or canceling out the things that I've been consistently doing as part of my routine, I'm going to get up and I'm going to push through and I'm going to do it anyway. Because I know this is way bigger than me. I know there's a reason that I keep getting pulled to just come live, even when I don't feel like talking. Even when I don't want to do the thing, I'm doing them. So now I ain't going to lay in the bed all day. I got stuff to do. Because I'm creating a life that I don't have to vacation from. And I want to experience that life while I'm here. Or I want my children or my legacy, my family, to at least be able to get the fruits of all of my labor. Because otherwise, if I've been grinding, if I've been hustling, trying to figure it out, connecting dots, healing wounds, healing scars, knocking down systems, breaking barriers, uncovering things, and also healing things, somebody gonna experience it. So I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm living out loud right now. And I'm setting up those things so that we all can win. I'm doing that. The power is in our hands. And as long as I remember that, I'm getting everything in this life that belongs to me. If I decide to go back to corporate America tomorrow, guess what? I'm going with a plan. This is how long I'm going to be up in here. This is the goal that I need to reach. I'm handling my business and I'm doing what I got to do, and I'm going to get on about my business. Because I refuse to be attached to any type of systems like that are not allowing me to expand. So again, the question for today is, what's one thing that you've done today that have helped you create the life that you don't have to vacation from. For me, it's showing up consistently, over and over and over again, even when I don't feel like doing it. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. The community group starts in 20 minutes. So before logging into the Zoom, I'm going to write down a few words to describe how I'm feeling. Because as I started, I hadn't checked in with myself, and that question was asked of me. I said I didn't know. The more I talk, the more that I sit, the more that I can hear, I know exactly how I'm feeling. And I know exactly what to do. But I need more space and more time to think so that I can just be in the now to help me continue to create the future that I don't have to vacation from. So again, welcome to Mindfulness Monday. I'm going to finish this in private, but if you're watching this and you are interested in joining the true community in which we check in on each other, click this Zoom link at 8 p.m. and you'll be able to join us live on Zoom as we're checking in with each other. However, if you are interested in having a one-on-one check-in, oh, no bugs. Hold on. No.
Live at Hot 107.7.
All right. Checking in every single Monday at 7 p.m. Central. I am checking in live with someone of the community or just providing you a mindful message. Send me your people's information if there's somebody in your life that you'd like to check in on. Or if that person is you and you're ready, allow me to check in with you. Or you can join that private community group at 8 p.m. Or we can check in and have a session or a mini session outside of it being live. So just send me your information or send me your request of what it is that you'd like, and we'll schedule that. However, if you are a part of a family and you're wanting to avoid having to go to the courthouse to solve out whatever your issues are, or not even that, if you are a mom and daughter, dad and son, or mom and dad, ex and, current, whatever the dynamic is, we can figure it out. But sometimes it don't need to be you that's having a conversation, and you probably need somebody else that'll help you figure it out. Holla at me. Holla at me. There's so much more that can be done if we just know how to have the difficult conversations and then move forward. But most of us don't know how to have difficult conversations. A lot of us don't know how to listen. But we're listening to respond and not listening to actually just listen. There's a difference. But again, the message for today is, how are you creating a life that you don't have to vacation from? I'm going to holler at y'all. Thank you for tuning in.